Hello, and welcome back to online English class. I hope you guys are doing well today, AP Language and Honors and Regular English 3 students. Today is Friday, April 17th, and today we will be continuing our work on OTN 2, which is analyzing and evaluating a series of sources, all themed around the American principle of religious freedom and religious tolerance. Okay, so today we're going to briefly check in prior to my assigning you the second three sources which you need to analyze throughout the course of the day today in preparation for our outlining of our arguments in response to the prompt, which you need to be completing in the beginning portion of next week. All right, so we'll be wrapping up OTN2, and you'll be submitting to me another completed outline. Okay, so for those of you that completed your OTN 1 assignment and submitted that to me on Wednesday at 3 p.m., I just want to show you an example, all right, today of what these outlines need to look like. Okay, so some of you gave me some really good work, and some of you gave me some really bad, really shoddy work. All right, I just want to sort of affirm again, very simply, what I'm looking for. The instructions are very straightforward, and if you operate under correct definitions of all the things that I'm asking you to for, then you'll give me exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, but to provide you a little bit of an example, all right. So this is an example of some student work here. All right, we start with the central claim in Winthrop's A Model of Christian Charity, Douglas's What to the Slaves of the 4th of July, and Reagan's Farewell Address. Okay, so the student has identified the three documents that they are going to base their synthetic argument on. These American leaders express the American ideal of having the ability to freely pursue individual beliefs and institute them in society. All right, so this student is obviously operating under a similar kind of assertion that I made in our conversation, all right, which is great. It's fine with me to go ahead and borrow that line of reasoning. I think it's there, and I think it's a good thing to think about, especially as an American. Again, the student continues to assert this ideal is at the heart of what it means to be an American. So while the definition of what is good and what should be institutionalized had shifted throughout the course of American history, in this case from devout Protestantism to equality of man to liberalism, the ability to be free and pursue individual belief of what is good has remained at the core of American ideology. Okay, so that is a cogent claim, all right, that answers the prompt. It identifies the three sources that the student's going to be discussing or working from. And then it offers a sort of supporting claim in body paragraph number 1, identifying the first source. In A Model of Christian Charity, Winthrop defines and explains the Protestant Puritans' identity and work, saying that it will succeed if they are faithful to God, which is a pursuit of Winthrop's vision for the colony and an institutionalization of what he and his fellow Puritans believe so that it may be reflected in their society. All right, so again, this sort of supporting claim helps develop, all right, this central claim, all right, identified here, and then the student is offering a kind of summary of the evidence that supports this claim and the ways in which this claim then therefore connects to and supports the central claim. All right, now the student has kind of gone above and beyond what I asked for specifically, right? I asked for a summary of the evidence, not the commentary. Basically, this is just a body paragraph, okay? Now, this is kind of how I think as well. All right, I typically have a hard time sort of cutting out my commentary because I just instinctively want to explain and sort of instinctively want to walk through my entire line of reasoning. It seems like that's reflected here in the student's writing. But just so you know, right, these identifications of these key quotes, that is what I'm looking for. You don't necessarily need to go through all of the commentary explaining and analyzing the evidence, okay? But this is an example of good work. This would be full credit work. If you do not have A, a central claim, and B, a summary of the supporting claims, the supporting assertions that support that central claim, and then a summary of evidence, then you have not completed the assignment as it was assigned in the outline. Okay, so again, if you're operating under a correct understanding of what all these words mean, what all these what all the language in these prompts mean, then you'll do exactly what I'm asking you. Okay, some of you guys are just rushing through this or responding to questions that you don't know what is being asked of you. All right, so always a bad idea. Okay, so what you have before you today, yesterday you should have with this prompt in mind. All right, this central concern of whether or not the Cordoba House should be supported or opposed by just an American reader that you are attempting to persuade to see this issue in the same way that you see it. All right, you should have analyzed the sources from Madison, Jefferson, and Washington, all of whom articulate a kind of early American understanding of what it means to be religiously tolerant. All right, so these guys who sort of had a heavy hand in building the nation and laying the groundwork, the ideological groundwork on which the nation's understanding of religious tolerance and the tolerance of various belief systems is based. Okay, now we're going to move on to looking at some more contemporary voices, okay? So Kennedy kind of stands in between these two groups of people. He's not exactly our contemporary. He's not exactly a 21st century source, okay? He's obviously in the middle of the 20th century in the 60s. But, right, Kennedy's source helps kind of apply in a more contemporary, more modern scenario some of these founding principles. Right? He kind of offers his opinion of what it looks like to approach religion and religious belief in a distinctly American and liberal way. All right. Then the next source, written by a guy named Jeff Jacoby, who you probably haven't heard of, who's just a thinker and a columnist. Okay, um, is writing an opinion in response to the invoking of the name of Jesus at a presidential inauguration. All right. So oftentimes there are prayers at presidential inaugurations, but many times, all right, those prayers are sort of offered up to a kind of vague deity, right? God, just kind of God, God, not necessarily Jesus Christ or Allah, God of the Prophet Muhammad. That would be pretty shocking kind of thing if that was if Allah, God of the Prophet Muhammad, were prayed to at the inauguration. But all right, Jesus was, which is equally a kind of committed religious expression. All right, that is certainly not interdenominational and interfaith. Right, it asserts the deity of Jesus whenever you begin to pray to Jesus at a American very public American political display of the swearing in of the sort of the head of the executive branch of the American government. So, is that an appropriate expression of an American's religious freedom, or is that inappropriate? Well, obviously, Jacoby is going to take up that question. Now, how does that question relate to the central question of the prompt? Well, I'll let you think about that, okay? But to put it simply, both of them in the end deal with an individual or a group of individuals' freedom to express, all right, their religious beliefs in specific ways that that genuinely reflect who they believe God to be and what those beliefs then therefore require them to do in their lives, whether it be to pray to a certain God named Jesus, or to construct a mosque, even if it's close to the site of a place where people died in the name of in the name of a similar God, right? So Obviously, those who were constructing the Cordoba house would not agree with the theology of the Islamic terrorist, the radical Islamic terrorist, um, who operated under different theological premises than those who are peacefully attempting to build the Cordoba house, not blow up anything and hijack planes and kill themselves. Okay, obviously, different kinds of Muslims, very similar to the ways in which people who believed in Jesus or proclaimed the deity of Jesus. Have been responsible for all kinds of atrocities that do not reflect my theology, and also, in my opinion, do not reflect what it means to actually be a Christian. Okay, so obviously, those kinds of things have to be considered, and Jeff Jacoby's article helps raise some of those similar kinds of questions. And then finally, all right, the sixth source written by or spoken by Michael Bloomberg, called the Ground Zero Mosque speech, is actually a contemporary document about the construction of the Cordoba house. Okay, so no matter how you slice it, you probably need to deal with this source in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so today what I'd like for you to do is to consider, to analyze these three sources. Okay, answering this important question for each one of the sources. How does the source connect to the main idea of the prompt? Okay, do not do something close to this. Do exactly that. All right. One thing, a trend that I'm seeing in you guys' work right now, especially as we move to the online model, all right, is that you're kind of, sort of, basically doing your work, but you're doing it like you're sitting in your pajamas, waiting to eat your waffles. All right. Do what I'm asking you to do. All right. There's not like you guys know how to use email. All right. You can hear my voice on this YouTube video. I get that it is less than optimal. I get that it is inherently less engaging and probably really boring to listen to me talk on these things every day. I'm sorry about that. But you still need to produce good work. All right. I still expect excellence from you, and I still expect you to answer to the questions that I'm asking you to answer exactly the way that I'm asking you to answer them. Okay. So don't do something close to what I'm asking you. Do exactly what I'm asking you. All right. Make sure that you're analyzing rhetorical situations, summarizing the central claim and line of reasoning, and considering the ways in which each source connects to the main idea of the prompt. All right. Next week, we'll move through our outline of our possible responses to this prompt. Okay. Have a great day.